Good day, everyone. Can you all hear me? Good day, everyone. Welcome to today's session. It's a lovely morning, and I want to warmly welcome everyone that has been able to join. It seems we have quite a lot of people who want to join currently, but it seems the network, I don't know, for the past few days, that's been terrible. But irrespective, our session will still hold anyways. I want to say thank you for those who have been able to make in the efforts or put in the efforts to be part of this session, irrespective. We say a warm welcome to everyone once again. So, good morning once again. My name is Dennis Williams, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. And we'll be starting shortly. But before we go ahead and receive our mentors' introduction and hear from our mentors from everything they would like to share with us on today's topic, which is the power industry. Um, I would just like to run through some announcements. Right. So, firstly, on our announcements is we will be sorry. Registration for this quarter officially ends this weekend. Right. So, for those who still have family members that are interested in the program, right, today is the last day. For today is the last day that they can officially register for the program, and if they are unable, maybe due to work or other circumstances that may be surrounding them,
If you want, you wanted me to call her one on one.
No, when the thing come through, say,
If you don't focus.
right today. Sorry, please, can you help? Can you mute your speaker, please? Thank you. All right, so so once again, like I was saying about the announcements, that if you still have friends that are interested in our program and want to still be a part of our session, and because of maybe one reason or the other that they may not be able to at the moment, they can join in for the second quarter or for the next quarter, which registration for that particular quarter will be starting immediately after this one closes. So please kindly take advantage of that. Tell your friends, share the links with them, the registration links with them. Tell them that we are currently running our mentorship program, and I trust that everyone who participates in this particular program will leave more enlightened, more enthusiastic about the fields that they are going to or they are trying to explore. So we'll just go ahead straight and introduce our mentors. I don't know what's wrong. It seems like my screen is not really showing, right? But then our first mentor for today is Mr. Uboho Inyang. Mr. Ogbonho was called to the Nigerian bar in 2015. After that, he worked for a couple of leading Nigerian law firms before leaving for his master's studies in the United Kingdom and France. He recently bagged a master's degree with a distinction grade in international energy law and policy from the University of Dundee, Scotland, United Kingdom. He was an international legal intern at Botzels Long, a renowned commercial law firm with offices in Michigan and other states in the United States of America. Before embarking on his internship, Uboho worked as an associate energy and natural resource practice at the law firms Stream Oa and Co. Lagos, Nigeria, and Cone, Lagos, Nigeria. He is currently an associate in the energy practice team. In the energy practice team, Odunjirin and Adefulu, Lagos, Nigeria. Also an associate member at the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, UK, Boho has keen interest in energy and natural resource law and hopes to focus on this area of practice in his career long term. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. We are glad to have you in session today. We look forward to hearing from you shortly. We'll be going ahead and reading our other mentor's profile. Our second mentor for today is Mr. Alexander Olatunde Akolo. Mr. Alexander is a dedicated professional with demonstrated experience in regulatory compliance, government relations, contracts administration and settlements, negotiation, research, and reportage in the Nigerian electricity power supplies industry. He has recently joined Nexus Power, a subsidiary of Nexus Capital Limited, as a senior energy consultant. Prior to this role, Alexandra was a regulatory affair and government relations manager at Nigeria's largest electricity distribution company, Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company (PLC). Alexander has deep knowledge on the plethora of regulations and directives in the NESI. He has worked as a technical assistant, Bureau of Trade and Investment, and a contract management analyst at the Embassy of Brazil and the Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading PLC, respectively. Alexander is about to complete a Doctor of Philosophy degree in Energy Studies, Renewable Energy Finance from the University of Ibadan. He holds a MSc Energy Studies degree from the University of Ibadan and a BLC Economics degree from the University of Jos. He has attended several energy conferences within and outside Nigeria. He is a member of the Nigerian Association of Energy Economics, Global Association of Risk Professionals, Society of Petroleum Engineers, and the Energy Institute. Thank you so much, Mr. Akolo, for volunteering to be a part of today's session. We thank you for joining us. Our last but not least on our mentors for today is Mr. Okeogene. Mr. Okeogene Ubehe. Mr. Okeogene is a top tier oil, gas, and energy professional whose experience spans the upstream, midstream, and downstream sector. He is driven by academics, market research, and work training experience, which is reflective in this professional experience in his professional experience and education. He graduated from the University of Science and Technology, where he started his career in mechanical engineering. This followed with several master's degree in project management, subsea engineering, and an MBA from schools in the United Kingdom and Rwanda. His oil and gas career took flight when he joined Ceylon Subsea Limited as a subsea engineer and ROV pilot, working with upstream companies like Nigerian Petroleum Development Company and Total Energies. He then moved to a small oil and gas startup called MG Vargas Limited that, that was then a major player in the NAOC AGIP land and offshore pipeline and crude storage infrastructure development and operations in Bayelsa State. During this role, he led infrastructure growth projects and was the mastermind of the conception and construction of the world-class Mount Zion fabrication yard, currently sited in Transwoji waterfront in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. He later joined the crude evacuation arm of Midwestern Oil and Gas, which was then the most successful marginal field operators. This company called Umugini Pipelines Infrastructure and Terminal Operations Operation and Maintenance Team put on ground by the promoters of that special purpose vehicle, which is still making waves today. He is currently the head technician of Energy Links Infrastructure Limited, another novel crude evacuation Okay, my device seems to, I have to connect using multiple devices because the network here is very crazy. But irrespective, we'll still be going on with the session for today. And I think Mr. Boho is not with us currently. But okay. It seems our networks are just so crazy this morning. I don't know what the problem is. I I don't know what the problem is, but I hope we're able to. Can anyone confirm that they're hearing me? Like, please, can I receive some form of confirmation that I'm being heard?
Yes, sir, we can hear you, but then sometimes like you go blank, and then sometimes like the thing just automatically logs out. It's network, I know.
Okay, sorry about that. I sincerely apologize for the network glitches. Hopefully, we'll be able to rectify everything before the next session. So, Mr. Uboho, right, we would like to hear from you, sir. You're welcome to today's session. We would like to hear from you from your own perspective, just an introduction into the power industry. I'm sure our mentees in their presentation, they did a lot of work and they put in a lot of effort to research, but we want to hear from your own professional standpoint of view. Just giving us an insight into what the power industry is like in Nigeria and maybe every other area that you have had the opportunity to research and also work in. You're welcome, sir.
Okay, good morning, everyone. It's an opportunity and a privilege to be here. Please, I wanted to find out if I can send, I did some PowerPoint, if I could send it for someone to help me project. I'm having difficulty doing that over here, if you don't mind.
Okay, please, sir, you can send it, sir. We'll try and see how we can help to project the work, sir.
Okay, so I'm gonna send to Dennis, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry, please, just a few seconds. Let me just share. Yeah, so I've sent it. I hope network allows it to come. All right, while we are waiting for that, thank you for the introduction. I really don't have much to say about myself. I'm glad to be here. I think it must have dropped now, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm still trying to see if it has dropped, but not yet able to.
Okay, that's fine. So basically, I will just be giving a brief introductory rundown on the Nigerian power sector, otherwise called the Nigerian electricity supply industry, the NESI. For a start, I would we'll just be looking at 3 points under our outline: history of the power industry in Nigeria, look at the regulatory framework and the licensing regime. I understand that I have about 15 minutes, so let's see how we can do that quickly. So historically, electricity generation in Nigeria is deemed to have started around the year 1896. So it's lasted for some generations now. It started with the generation, I think, of about 60 kilowatts of power. And then it went through different phases. We had the phase where, hold on. Sorry, give me a second. Are you able to project it? Still no.
Yes, sir. I've received the documents, but I'm finding it very difficult to download. It's very, very slow. The network is really, really bad. It's not allowing me to download it.
Yeah, please permit me, because if I switch on my video, the network might go bad. So I'm just managing it here as well. Can you hear me?
All right, sir, please, you can just go ahead.
Okay. So it moved on to the establishment of the Nigerian Electricity Supply Company, which is the first utility company in Nigeria, sometime in 1929. That moved further to when we had the establishment of the Electricity Company of Nigeria, sometime in 1951, and then the Niger Dam Company Authority in 1962. We moved to that stage where both the ECN and the NDA, and that is the Dam Authority, were succeeded by NEPA, which we are very much used to, the Nigerian Electricity Power Authority, sometime in 1972, following the enactment of the law establishing it. But NEPA, of course, being an integrated monopoly, state-owned monopoly, we all know how it happened. In 2001, government thought, it's time to open the market and see how to liberalize the sector to allow for private intervention or involvement. And so in 2001, we had a transitional entity known as the Power Holding Company of Nigeria, which succeeded NEPA. The Power Holding of Nigeria, of course, inherited the assets and liabilities of NEPA and transferred that to 18 companies set up to inherit the assets of NEPA. And that is when we had the 6th generation companies, GENCOs, 11 transition companies, transmission companies. And then we also had, not transition companies. We had the GENCOs, we had the DISCOs, 11 DISCOs, and we had the TCN, the Transmission Company of Nigeria, which operated or still operates as a monopoly up until the enactment of the Electricity Act recently. And thereafter, so that was in 2005, when we had the Electric Power Sector Reform Act, which was enacted in 2005, and which led to the transitional phase, which we have just talked about, the 18 successor companies. So the Electricity Power Sector Reform Act stayed up until about June last year, when the Electricity Act was enacted to replace the ESPR Act. What are the innovations brought about or changes brought about by the Electricity Act? Just to touch quickly on that. But before we look at the changes, I would just want to highlight some interesting things, just give you some figures about the sector that would help in our discussion. So power generation right now in Nigeria hovers around, the generating capacity or installed capacity, if you like, plus or minus 15,000 megawatts. In the metrics, if we look at the energy mix, if we were able to project that, you would see that about more than 70% of that is contributed by gas, or thermal, if you like. Hydro accounts for about 27%. The rest shared between coal, about 1.8%, solar, 0.2%, bioenergy, about 0.1%, and other fossils, heavy fuel sources, about 0.2%. So you see we have some energy mix there, but largely tilted towards thermal energy. Having said that, look at the regulatory framework. I just ran you through some history of the energy or power sector in Nigeria. The regulatory framework, we mentioned that a time when we had the ESPRA Act, and so recently there was an enactment which repealed the ESPR Act, called the Electricity Act, sometime on June 8th, 2028, when the president signed the SY bill into law. The primary regulatory body still remains the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, otherwise known as NERC. So what are the notable reforms introduced by the Electricity Act? So the Electricity Act acknowledges the fact that we are in a transitional phase in the power sector. We are trying to move from that state-regulated, state-owned monopoly system, which did not allow for so much of private involvement. So the Electricity Act still upholds the need for a more competitive electricity market, allowing for private participation, unbundling the market, and yes, for different investors to come in. And it also introduced the need or the incorporation and licensing of an independent system operator, ISO, to coordinate both markets and system operation functions. So basically, this, before the Electricity Act, this role was played by the TCN, as the Transmission Company of Nigeria. So Transmission Company of Nigeria handled both the transmission and the system operations and market operation. So now the Electricity Act is saying at some point the TCN has to break with that part and incorporate an entity known as the Independent System Operator, who would now be in charge of both markets. That is things like pricing, billing and all, and also system operations. So system operations will also cover things like balancing, scheduling, and all of those responsibilities. So in the course of time, we are going to see that happen, separation of functions. Then it also calls for decentralization of regulation. It allows or brings about decentralization of regulations to states and creates state electricity markets. I mean, under the ASPR Act, we had everything regulated by the federal government. I mean, this is also coming on the heels of the recent amendment to the Constitution, particularly paragraph 14B, part 2 of the second schedule to the Constitution, which now allows for states to legislate and or regulate power. Before now it was within the exclusive legislative list. So that being said, states, further also to the Electricity Act, states can now have their markets, but up until when they have their own laws, the Electricity Act will still govern. And of course, the NERC, the NEC, will still govern electricity supply in states across board. So whereas states can now regulate, states can also have their own markets. They can also have their own regulatory authority. And we hope to see that happen. We are hoping states like Lagos should be thinking about that. Another aspect of reform introduced by the Electricity Act, it encourages the generation of electricity from renewable energy. So a part of that is to promote renewable energy utilization in our power industry. In order to encourage that, the law or the act makes provisions for the government to provide incentives to operators or investors who would want to invest in that aspect of our sector, that is renewables, and also encourages or empowers the Commission to grant concessions or licenses to mini-grid operators who would want to, of course, be involved in renewable energy. That being said, so we see that there's now a progress from a monotonous system where the government controlled everything to a point of liberalization. And now we are also moving to that point where we are futuristic, looking at renewables. So we would say that's a positive development. Then there's also the introduction of the National Integrated Electricity Policy and Strategic Implementation Plan, the JIIPCC. It encourages the act provides that the states or the government shall get this published at some point in order to provide a direction on where we are going to in the future. So that policy implementation plan would, signpost how the government will proceed in terms of, regulating and developing the sector. There's also the establishment of the National Hydroelectric Power Producing Areas Development Commission and Fund. Technically, that is just to provide for some, the fund is to be used for the development of the host communities where we have our hydroelectric dams. And so about 9 states or so where these dams crisscross. The funds will be used for such communities. States like Kwara, states like Kaduna, states like Niger, states like Kogi belong to that belt. And so these are just a few of the changes, innovations brought about by the newly passed or enacted Electricity Act. Having said that, I'll just want to touch a bit on the licensing regime. I mean, under the new Electricity Act, basically, in the power sector, we all know, I believe, we have different stratas of operation. Of course, the generation, you have transmission, you have distribution. So the licensing regime is also demarcated into this strata. First, you have the generation license, which is granted or by the NEC. We also have issued by the NEC. We also have transmission license. So generation, as the name sounds, is also allowed for generation of electricity producer. Then there's the transmission license. Basically, the transmission, the transmission license allows for ownership of the grid. So the wires that connect from the high voltage taken down to where we have the low voltage. I mean, I hope I got that right in technical terms. That transmission phase, there is a license as well, which is also issued by the NEC. We have the distribution license, which is where power leaves the transmission line down to the consumer, low voltage usage. I hope I got the technical term right. And in addition to that, you have also other ancillary licenses. You have the system operation license, which we just hinted would now be separated from the TCN. So once that entity has been incorporated, this license is going to be issued to the system operation license. So technically, the TCN will still handle transmission as a sole entity, as a natural monopoly. And the system operation license is to be also issued to a licensee. Then we have the trading license. Trading license as defined by the Act. It could be a lot confusing between the trading license and supply license. But from the definition there in the Act, the trading license basically, like a trader, the trader necessarily does not need to take the product down to the consumer. The trader is more like the middleman between the distributor and the supplier. And then the supply, of course, the supply license is to ensure that the electricity supplied or provided by the trader now gets to the consumer. So we see these 6 licenses that, based on the new Electricity Act are now operational in the system. Like I said, all these licenses are issued by the NEC. So with regards to discussions about renewables, I think we'll do that more when we are looking at or taking questions or discussing questions from the mentees. So this is just an introductory presentation on what the power sector is in Nigeria. I hope I did justice to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for that lovely introduction. We are glad that you were able to share your thoughts and perspective, and you were also able to help us run through just a general overview of what the power industry or the power sector is like in Nigeria. Thank you very much, sir. I'm not sure, but I think we have Mr. Alexander on call. Please, if you are with us, sir, can you please confirm? Mr. Alexander, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Yes, sir. Good day, sir. We are welcome to today's session. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. We also want to hear from you, sir, just from your own perspective and your own point of view as a power industry expert, sir. What is the energy or the power industry like in Nigeria? You're welcome, sir.
Okay, thank you. So I think First speaker, I mean, the first mentor has already done a lot of justice to the topic, and he has really spoken extensively about the sector. I mean, he went through from the history down to the regulatory regime, down to licensing, and so I think he's done justice. I would just say, clarify, transmission deals mostly with high voltage and mid voltage connections, while that is 330 and 132, while the distribution companies deal with 33 and 11 kV. That is transformers, injection substations, and the lines. So that's just clarification, because I noticed he was talking about the technical terms, and this is just to clarify. So transmission are mostly high tension, high voltage and mid voltage, while distribution use 11 kV and 33 kV down to 0.415. That's what myself and yourself are connected to. Residential entities are connected to the distribution network. I like the fact that he broke down the licenses, the different types of licenses in Section 63 of the Electricity Act, which categorize them into
If you do it like this now, there's no point of looking at the phone. Waiting one. Ìwé àbí àárẹ̀ ìtàn fi kìíní ìsìnkú àkọ́dá. Ìgbà yẹn náà ti lè dá àwọn èèyàn track.
Unmuted, please. Can you please kindly mute? Thank you. I don't know. It seems I was disconnected for a while, and it also seems Mr. Alexander was also disconnected. So we'll still be having him shortly. I'm sure he will still be trying to reconnect or join in to the session. And just to continue, right, we'll just want to hear from our mentees right about now. So we kindly, sincerely apologize for the way the network has been this today. It's not been it's but we'll still be continuing with our session respective. So please, can we have our group presenter for group 1 and 2 if they are.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Miss Kate, can you hear us?
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, it seems we have Mr. Alexander back.
Yeah, I'm back.
Please, sir,
Yes,
thank you for
apologies.
joining.
Yeah, what did you say?
I said, we are welcome back, sir.
Yeah,
It seems
okay, yeah. Yeah,
Well.
so sorry, I had a network glitch. So I mean, I'm sure we all understand based on what's going on in the country in the past 2 days or 3 days. Yeah, so I was saying that Section 63 of the Electricity Act categorized the licenses to be issued by the regulator into 6 categories: generation, transmission, distribution, supply, trading, and system operations, just like the first mentor has talked about. So for generation licenses, it just to let them know that they are operating an illegality.
Mr. Alexander, are you still with us? Oh, network has been such a hindrance and is proving to be such a barrier. But irrespective, I think we'll just go ahead and have our presentations. Then,
go ahead.
Sir, can you hear us?
Let's go ahead. Let's just go ahead. I can hear you. I think we should just go ahead. Yes.
All right. So please, we'll just like to have our presentations. Then maybe later on, Mr. Alexander can come back, and during his feedback, he can also give further explanation into today's topic and share his perspective on what he will have us know as pertaining our subject matter. So please, can we have the presenter back again, if that will be possible? Group 1 presenter, if you're ready, you can come and make your presentation. Our time is 7 minutes for presentation, so please, as much as possible, try and keep to time. Thank you. Okay, can our presenter hear us?
Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Ma. You're welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, good morning, all. I want to say good morning to each and everyone. I've been seeing how to try to share my work, but this network is just messing up from my end here. So I don't know what I should do, or I should just go ahead and...
Please, you can go ahead and continue with the presentation.
Okay, good morning to each and everyone. I'm representing group 1 in presentation of this very topic this morning, which says renewable energy, sources in power industry and advanced technologies in conventional power generation. Yes, my name is Kate Olusuyi, representing Group 1. Power industry. What is power industry? Power industry, which is also known as the energy sector, it all encompasses the production, distribution, and sales of electricity to consumers and businesses, which also play a very crucial role in the modern society by providing the energy which is needed to homes, markets, businesses, industry, banking, and also infrastructure. And the power industry is as we all know, that is undergoing a significant transformation driven by technological advancements involving consumer preferences. Now, what is this presentation just talking about? The presentation discusses the latest development and advancement in renewable energy, which also cover the technological aspect of various renewable and conventional power generation technologies. Then we have the solar power technology. The solar power technology harnesses energy from the sun, as we are all aware, to generate electricity or heat And we have some of these key solar power and technologies like one, we have photovoltaic, we have the concentrated solar power, and we also have the thermal system. And on the thermal system, these systems are sunlight, which heats water or other fluids from applications such as space, heating, water, and industrial processes. Then, when you look at the picture by the side, you can see how it generated the power. Look at the picture at the side. I will later send this, please. And on the wind energy system, it harnesses the power of wind to generate electricity. And here are some key components and type of wind that we have in the energy system. When you look at the picture by the side, by the time I send the picture, you see how it generated power. The wind, how it generated power. The wind turbines. Wind turbines are the primary components of wind energy system. They typically consist of rotor blades. When you look at the picture on the side of what I'm presenting, by the time I send it to the group WhatsApp, you see the rotor blades attached to a hub, mounted on a tall power. As the wind blows, each time the wind blows, it causes the rotor blades to spin, driving a generator that produces energy. The horizontal axis on the wind turbines. These are the most common type of wind turbines that we have, with blades that rotate around the horizontal axis and we sustain for a wide range of wind spread and are often used in large-scale wind farms. We have the hydroelectric power generation. The hydropower generation harnesses the energy of flowing water to generate electricity. And how does it work? And here are some of the key points about the hydroelectric power. We have the dam, and we also have the turbines here. The hydroelectric power plant typically rely on dams to create reservoir for water. The dams controls the flows of water to increase the water pressures, which drives turbine to generate electricity. The hydroelectric power station also has a dam and reservoir in a flexible source. Since the amount of electricity produced can also be increased or decreased in seconds or minutes in response to varying electric decima. So we have the turbines too. These are the water reservoir. It flows through the pipes and strike the blades of turbines, causing dams to split. The turbine are connected to a generator, which convert the mechanical energy into electrical energy. Then we come to the biomass bioenergy. Biomass and biomass energy solutions involve using organic material. What we are talking about here is it involves using dead plants and animal waste to produce energy. Then the biomass feedback. Biomass can also come from various sources. So we have the agricultural residue, crops, straws, and forestry residue. So energy crops, dedicated crops grown specifically for energy production. Then we move to geothermal power exploration. This one, the geologists also they must identify a land that generates a lot of heat. Once the heat is it is identified, the geologists can now drill. They drill it. Once it is drilled, they test it, and now use the machines to convert from heat energy to electrical energy, as it's in the picture which we have prepared in group 1. Then we have the nuclear power innovations. On the nuclear power innovations, It refers to advancement and development in technology, design and practices within the field of nuclear energy production. This innovation aims and improves safety, efficiency, sustainability, and cost effectiveness of nuclear power generation. These all include reactor design and such as small modular reactors and molten salt reactors, as well as advancement in fuel cycles. So all these material science, waste management, and safety systems, they are all overall nuclear power innovations. We seek to also address current challenges and explore new opportunity for utilizing nuclear energy as a reliable and clean sources of energy. Then we have the clean coal technology. This, which includes methods such as carbon capture and storage, integrated gasification combined cycle. Clean coal technologies are also aimed at reducing carbon emission from burning coals on natural gas plants. Natural gas plants are used as their fuels, as used to fuel to generate electricity. As how we are aware now in Nigeria that Nigeria is moving from fossil fuel to gas, and natural gas plants are environmental cleaner, emitting fewer greenhouse gases and particulate matter that traditional coal plant, or modernization of existing power infrastructure. Modernization of existing power infrastructure, it all involves upgrade and improve the advancement of the system and technologies used in generating, transmitting, and distributing electricity. And some of the examples, let me just name one or two are. We have the smart grid technologies, we have the renewable energy integration, we have the digitalization and automation, and advanced energy storage. These are all the modern existing power infrastructure. Conclusion. In conclusion, renewable energy sources have in conclusion, renewable energy sources have emerged as significant contribution to the power industry, offering sustainable and environmentally friendly alternatives to conventional fossil fuel-based generation. Technologies such as solar, wind, hydro, and biomass have seen rapid advancement, driving down costs and increasing their competitiveness in the energy market, as we are all aware. The growth of renewable has been supported by favorable policy, technological innovations, and increasing awareness of climate change and environmental sustainability. Thank you very much. Hello? Hello?
Yes, thank you so much, Ms. Kate. Your presentation was really nice, straight to the point.
Were you able
Yes,
to
we
hear
can.
me very well? Because I'm having inches by this side, but I just try to just do something.
Yes, we were able to hear your presentation. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. Well done, man. Well done to all the Group 1 members that were able to put up that presentation together. Right. Before we go ahead and we have Group 2 presents, we would just like to hear from our mentors firstly, to hear their feedback on Group 1's presentation, and then we'll take Group 2's presentation. Mr. Uboho, what are your thoughts and take back on the presentation that was made by the mentees?
Okay, thanks very much. A commendable job by the team. Very comprehensive job. I could follow the whole line of narration, and like they did justice to the topic. I would say, I think if I'm to make a few comments on that, I don't know if you took your time to, I think you didn't put too much time paraphrasing the words. It would appear some of the contents were taken directly from the web source. And I mean, I would just think in the academic circle, maybe one would have to be very careful when, reporting from online or web sources, was to, show some originality, Yeah, so that's just what I would say. I see that there is a reference, but in the body of the work, there should have been more paraphrasing, so it does not kind a copy and paste kind of a thing. But altogether, great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I will do better next time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bo, for that wonderful comments. I'm sure Group 1 are taking notes and cognizance of everything you said. We also like to hear from Mr. Alexander. Sir, do you have comments on the presentation, sir? Hello, sir. Are you still with us?
Dennis, are you talking to me?
Yes, sir. I was saying, sir, do you have any comments on the presentation that was made by Group 1?
Okay, yes. So the presentation was good. I just feel they could have done a better job in the rules of making PowerPoint presentations. So one of the rules in making a PPT presentation is that it cannot be wordy. And that's where reading it and understanding it comments. So you have to and when you see, I'm not supposed to be reading the slides as you're saying it. It's just supposed to be keywords that you will speak to. So, but otherwise, I think it was a good one. I just feel, with respect to the rules of making PowerPoint presentations, the group could have done a better job. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you so much, Mr. Alexander. Please, can we have Group 2 make their presentation? Thank you.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh,
yes, we can hear you.
I'm sorry, I never knew. Let me see if I can share my screen. I'm the standing presenter for Group 2 today, and my name is Nicholas Chukwuka. The main presenter is not around, but I will try my best to fill in his shoes. I'm trying to share my screen, please. So the topic for Group 2 today is challenges and innovations in the power industry. Generally, an overview, and then I can zoom into the Nigerian power sector and the challenges with possible suggestions and solutions going forward. So we highlighted certain subtopics or subheadings under this very, very broad topic and tried to fit in a presentation slide within the 7-minute allocated time mark. So we'll start off firstly by explaining what an electric grid is generally before talking about modern grid forms and the innovations therein. So generally, an electric grid can be described or defined as a complex and interconnected network of infrastructure for the distribution of electrical energy from its source or from where it's generated down to a place known as the transmission house or center or factory. Then from there onwards to the end user, which is the individual in his house or in his place of business, or the industries using the same electric energy for manufacturing. Then narrowing it down to smart grid. The smart grid is an electricity network that uses advanced or modern technologies, digital technologies, to monitor, to manage, and then to follow that line, that train of transmission from the distribution companies down to the end user. So it is smart because it incorporates automation in the whole energy distribution process. It helps track the movement and the supply of electrical energy from a source, then to the transmission houses, to the distribution houses, and then down to its final end user. And then we said there are various components that come together to form what we call a smart grid, or for short in the industry, SG. And such components include cables, circuit breakers, collector nodes, smart meters that help read and then send back feedback back to the transmission or distribution company. So it's a two-way flow of data and information. Like I said earlier on, it involves an automated process. So like I've been saying, a smart grid is a modern and advanced electric grid that uses communication and automation and information technology to oversee, to supervise, and then to track the flow of energy and data across energy distribution lines, electric energy distribution lines, from the point of distribution to the end user. And one of such technologies employed by this complex system known as a smart grid is what we call an advanced metering infrastructure, also known as AMI, which is used to track electricity usage and measure consumption. And this technology also helps in forecasting and in data collection. And very importantly, and as narrowing it down to the Nigerian space, there has been the perennial issue of overestimated billing for industries, for public institutions, and for the individual carrying out his business, or the man switching on his air condition or fan in his house. So there has not been, should I say, trustworthiness in the process, especially on the part of the end user, that is being fairly assessed and billed exactly for the energy he's using. So this, one of the things that this smart grid does is to eliminate that issue of estimated billing, so that individuals can get a fair assessment and a fair calculation of the amount of energy that they use. And it's a clear process, and it's a two-way process that requires that incorporates automation. So the energy company sees what is being used, and the individual on his end sees exactly what is being built for. So like I listed earlier, there are various components of this smart grid network that come together to make this network a functioning grid. It includes cables, circuit breakers, collector nodes, smart meters that help in the recording and transmission of this data, electric power generation, electric power generators, and electric power substations, which are on the end of the energy companies. And going further, another innovation in this power industry, in the modern power industry, are what we call energy storage system, or ESS. So these are storage systems or devices or technologies which are used to convert or trap energy from the point of generation. It traps them for onward and forward and metered or calculated or measured distribution from the discos down to the end users. And examples of these storage systems, which are an innovative technology in the industry, includes pumped hydroelectric storage, electrochemical batteries, solar electric batteries with thermal energy storage systems, air compressed storage, and flywheels. So another heading of our presentation has to do with the cybersecurity in the power sector. We've been talking about automation, we've been talking about digitization of the power distribution and generation process. And all these smart technologies and modern innovation, they are also hanging on the foundation or the pillars of information technology and other IT innovations of the modern times. And be that as it may, due to that exposure to IT and its heavy reliance on it, this industry becomes vulnerable to cybersecurity risk, data breaches, hacking of system and information, cyber attacks, and other cyber threats. And these threats, where and when they succeed, can have devastating consequences on the national security, on the national economy. It can ground like what is happening with the undersea cable across the Atlantic coast, where there's been a compromise or a breach in the technology responsible for high-speed internet data services. It has led to losses in the banking sector. It has led to losses in the information sector. It has led to losses in the economy as a whole, and it has exposed risks it has exposed people's and companies and even nations' data to vulnerable cyber threats like hacking and all that. So we highlighted three forms of cyber threats that the modern power infrastructure is exposed to. One, cyber attacks upon the central electric power system, which includes where they come in, these malicious hackers, and they hack into the database and they either shut down or they manipulate the distribution of energy. Then we also talked or did an overview on the electric power policy and regulatory frameworks in Nigeria as a whole. So we highlighted that the main regulator in this industry is the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. And the main law which regulated this sector alongside the NERC regulation was the Electric Power Sector Reforms Act of 2005. But that law has now been repealed. It was repealed on the 9th of June last year when the incumbent president of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, signed the new Electricity Act 2023. And this Electricity Act is innovative as he also went further to incorporate, it was forward-looking as he incorporated renewables in the body of the act. So the challenges of the Nigerian power industry include outdated and worn-out infrastructures like power cable lines, high-tension beams, and even power station and substations. The technologies and the infrastructures being used in most Nigerian cities are outdated, and they cannot meet up with the modern demands of a 21st century developing state who seeks to be one of the highest developing or fastest developing economies in both Africa and the world. So it is a very old and worn-out technology, and it cannot keep up with the pace and the rapid expansion of the Nigerian state. And this is even in the urban centers, not talking about the rural centers where many of these Nigerian communities have not come under even the national grid. The existing one that we are saying is already worn out. So they've not come under that grid already. So it's a problem. It's a problem. And there's on the part of the Nigerian government to revitalize this sector and get it working. There's always the issue of enforcement. There's always the issue of inadequate funding, which we talked about, and then poorly trained officials. And a combination of all these challenges gives us an industry that is basically a sitting duck for hackers, for malicious cyber terrorists, and for even the slightest of natural disasters like rain and landslide or mudslides can cripple and have far-reaching effects on the power sector infrastructure and the Nigerian economy as a whole. So the way forward, we suggested improving and modernizing power generation and distribution network and infrastructure. We suggested more and improved funding for the sector, an efficient implementation of regulations and policies, and a strong political will to see that this sector is revitalized again, because there's no modern society that has functioned today or has become what it has become today without a functional power sector. So we also advocated for the improvement of technical training for the officials of both the DISCOs, the GENCOs, and even the regulators, and advocated finally for investing in stronger information technologies to combat the threats of hackers, cyber terrorists, and other threats that may face the industry in the future. So thank you very much. And this is where Group 2 will be stopping the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chuka, for stepping in and filling in for your group to make the presentation. You did your best. That was a wonderful presentation. Sorry, I was logged out of the network, so a part of the presentation I was not able to hear, but I'm sure and I believe our mentors were able to hear your presentation, and we'll just want to hear from them and see if they have any comments on the presentation that was made. Mr. Obo, we'd like to also hear from you firstly, before we hand over to Mr. Alexander. Sir, do you have any comments on the presentation made by Group 2?
Okay, thanks very much. Quickly, yeah, great job, great presentation. I enjoyed it. I could follow all the narrations. Great job to the presenter. Even though he said he was a standing presenter, he spoke he just spoke like the natural speaker. Great presenter. He wasn't just reading or reciting. He added some practicality to his presentation. That's great. That's one of the tips of presenting when presenting PowerPoints or making PowerPoint presentation. Less toward the more interactive slides. Just a little comment with regards to the enactment date of the Act. If you see the Act itself, it's actually on the 8th of June, where it's written when the President signed into law. So you could just take note of that, not 9th. I know some news publications, they say it's 9th, but it's actually 8th. Then I like the recommendations. It just showed that you were not just getting the contents, you also thought it through and came up with very practical recommendations. So by and large, good job. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir,
for
that comment. So we'd like to also have Mr. Alexander give a comment on, or give his comments on the presentation.
Okay, yeah, so I think Chuka did a good job, and it was a good presentation. So I mean, my co-mentor already said it all. So I think Group 2 did a good job, and I like the fact that they're able to relate the whole advanced technology thing to the Nigerian power sector. Though there are one or two things that okay, you didn't talk about SCADA in the Nigerian context, and it looks as if you are mixing up smart grid a little bit with AMI. So AMI is for tracking, for remote monitoring, and mostly for payment channels, while smart grid on its own is mostly about the transmission, right? So I think there was that mix up a little bit when you're making your presentation. that is on one hand, but overall it was a good one. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Alexander, for that wonderful comments and observation to the presentations that was made. Okay, I noticed Mr. Okeogene joined in, but it seems he is no longer with us. Okay, he's back with us. Before we go into our question and answer session, Mr. Okeogene, thank you for joining us today. Right, I'm sure I'm grateful that you were able to cut out from your time to still be able to make sure that you participate in today's session. So thank you, sir, for joining in. We'd just like to recognize your presence. And also, I don't know, sir, we just want to also quickly hear from you. If you have any thoughts, and are there particular things you probably want us to know as regards our topic for today on the power sector? You're welcome, Mr. Okeogene. Mr. Okeogene, can you hear us, sir?
I'm okay. Yeah, I can hear you. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you now, sir.
Okay, excellent. Thank you again, Williams, and thank you. Good morning to everyone. Apologies I joined late. I wasn't supposed to be on this session, but again, I just thought I should dial in. Can you hear me?
Okay, sir, if you can hear us, it seems your network isn't, your mic is unmuted, but we're not hearing you, sir.
Okay, you can't still hear me till now?
Okay, now we can hear you.
Apologies. My network is not very good. I hope I'm able to sort this out. But again, I jumped in. Good presentation. I think it was just the last presenter I had. Very detailed presentation on power, and I think he touched on the discos and the gencos and also on cybersecurity and a few things that are very, very important. I want to commend him, and I hear he wasn't supposed to be the initial presenter, but I think Chuka, he did a very good job. So well done to Chuka. But again, I want us to take these sessions we have not as only research sessions for identifying the problem, but also an opportunity for us to be creative like we all know, solution providers are in high demand, and that's where value creation comes for anybody, for people that are known in the industry today. You find out that there are solution providers. And I want one thing JIIPC should focus on here is challenging our mentees to be
Hello, sir.
having this
Your
conversation.
network seems to be
identify key problems that we're having, our opportunity for us to shine,
it seems
to get
like
very key.
it's breaking. Can you hear us, sir? Okay. Since Mr. Okeogene's network is also pretty terrible, but irrespective, when he comes back on, we'll be having him speak again, but not to waste any further time. We'll just be going straight to our question and answer session, So please, I'm sure we have probably there are a few questions that our mentees would like to ask, and also from their presentation there are some questions that they sent in. So we'll still be taking those questions here, but we would like to take live questions first. So are there live questions that our mentees would like to ask? For those who are here with us on call, are there live questions?
Apologies, Williams. I don't know what happened to my network. Can you guys hear me?
Okay, yes, sir. We can hear you, sir. Please, you can go ahead,
Okay.
sir. We'll be taking questions.
No, let me not take us back. But the bottom line of what I'm trying to say is that we should be more focused about providing solutions as young lawyers, as young engineers, as young people that are coming out of schools and trying to have a niche for themselves in the industry. Let's be very focused on providing solutions. And I think that if we wear that cap, we'll be more valuable. Look for industries and low-hanging fruits, or where we can put our foot in the door in some of these industries and make our mark. Presently myself, I'm deeply rooted in the power industry and how I can make a difference. Talking to a few companies overseas to see how we can, take a demo city or a demo organization and see how we can provide solutions. This is what we need to do for a nation, to see how we can break in and be recognized for what we do. And that's what we encourage our young people here to do. Let's be solution driven. Let's be solution minded. Let's look for areas where things are not working and look for how we can provide long-lasting solutions. Cybersecurity, energy distribution, energy generation, and smart energy utilities. These are things that are selling globally, and I believe Nigeria will also be one of the places if we get it right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for that, your contribution. Thank you for sharing that thoughts, and I'm sure we will do well to, and our mentees also will do well to take note of that and make a practice of being solution providers rather than just researching into problems, but also finding pathways to ensure that from the problems and the researches we make, we are able to profile solutions, and not just abstract solutions, but solutions that are sustainable and in the long run can be monetized for our own profits, for our own profiting. So we'll be going back to questions and answers like I originally stated. So we'll be taking questions. Do our mentees have questions? Are there questions our mentees would like to ask? All right, while we wait for live questions, all right, we'll be taking the questions on the chat box. The first question here, and I will just be distributing it across our mentors, except in a situation where maybe a mentor has something to contribute on that particular question. The first question here, and I think I'll be addressing or sending this over to Mr. Alexander. The first question here is, as pertaining to the Nigerian situation, what is our progress towards integrating renewable energy sources into the national power grid? Sir, can you hear us, sir?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, okay, sir. Please, we'd just like you to help us with that question. It says, as pertains to the Nigerian situation, what is our progress towards integrating renewable energy sources into the national power grid?
Okay, thank you for that question. In the past, right? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you, sir.
Okay, good. So in the past, it came up, and the country came up with a plan to integrate 1.2 gigawatts of electricity from 14 solar power projects across the country. Some of them were 100 megawatts, some of them were 200 megawatts from different countries, quite middle band, different companies across the country. But in total, there were 14 projects that were supposed to be solar projects. And in 2016, around June 2016, NBET, I don't even know NBET, initialed those power purchase agreements with the developers. But along the line, those projects could not proceed due to some reasons, and which mostly were financial and contractual. So the Ministry of Finance, the developers could not agree on some issues. There were some tariff issues. Initially, it was around 11.5 cents, but it came down to 7.5. That was what the government was proposing. which was turned down by the developers, right? And the developers also wanted the Ministry of Finance on behalf of the government, which the government was not ready to give to them. So there were some back and forth, and that is on one hand. On the second hand, the transmission company of Nigeria also carried out what we call a stress test, and they found out that it would be difficult to integrate. That is technologically now. The grid could not be that marriage between renewable energy. They call it VRE actually, variable renewable energy, and the national grid as it is today could not really happen. So I know some studies have been done. GIZ, which is the German Agency for International Cooperation, carried out the studies for the TCN, and but really, if this question, no much progress has been done so far. If you say renewable energy for remote areas, for embedded generation, yes, but integrating RE or VRE into the national power grid, not much has been done. That's my answer to that question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir, for helping us answer that question. And our next question here is, as it pertains to nuclear power innovations, why isn't it employed in Nigeria? I don't know, Mr. Okeogene.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes,
No, sorry. Before you go ahead, yes, let me just add something to what the mentor said earlier. Thank you for being very honest to us, because sometimes when we talk about renewable and conventional energy, again, in my own personal opinion, and I think the previous mentor that spoke, he has gone far and wide to put some case studies on the ground to demonstrate that not much progress has been made. But I want to just add this to it, right? In terms of power generation, there's some very quiet organizations that have done power generation, managed it very well, added renewable, and are doing very well. Typical example is Winners Chapel, right? Winners Chapel have had light in their Covenant Center outage. And I think that I've heard they had lights for quite a few times for a few years without power outages. And I heard they have other case studies already in Nigeria already operating. So I think it's the onus on our government to power, just the same way it's done. These people have been able to achieve this here in Nigeria. There are places in Shell, there are places in certain organizations where they've run power without outages for a long time. So I think, and one of the layers of what these people have also done is to also engage renewable energy in different case studies, and they've been able to do it. They with energy in different places in Nigeria when they want to integrate it, but the issues are there. But since Winners Chapel, some of these churches have been able to run power, they also have solar panels and solar systems running where they use as backup in certain places. I think these are the best places for us to go and see what they have done, still in the same climb that we have as at this point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Okeogene. I think we had, I don't know if it's only me, but I had a part of your discourse and your own comments, and a part wasn't so clear. But I think the general overview of what you said is that there are currently private sectors that are currently running or like as added to current power generation, they have also included renewable sources, and they have made sure that it's sustainable. They have been able to ensure that it's sustainable. I can see Mr. Oboho's hand raised. I think he has a comment he would also like to add. Sir, please, the floor is yours, sir.
Okay, yeah, thank you. From what the previous mentors have said, I just thought, I know it's easy for private entities with smaller scope to cover to run on renewable energy. I think one of the very important issues that when we are talking of integrating renewables into a national power grid is the unpredictability and the variability of renewable energy sources, let's say solar. And so you see, even in advanced countries, integrating renewable energy into their national grid, it took a lot of process. And even till date, they are still trying to get a hang of it, still debate around that. And I think one way out of that is, getting storage facility, which for now, I don't know how practicable that is for Nigeria. But generally, I think it's a tougher one to have renewables integrated into the national grid. I think it's easier for private entities to, maybe that's why we have not really seen a lot of progress in that regard, with regards to integrating it into the national grid. I just wanted to give my 2 cents. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much, sir. And thank you to our mentors that were able to throw light on that particular question. Moving forward, our second question was, or is, as it pertains to nuclear power innovations, why isn't it employed in Nigeria? Mr. Okeogene, please, you have a thought you would like to share in this direction.
Okay. Thank you, William. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, sir, we can hear you, sir.
Okay, excellent. I know I cut off previously, and I'm doing my best to ensure that I don't cut off again. So your question on how nuclear energy has not been really employed in Africa generally, I think we're getting a few of them coming up. Is it Nigeria or some of these, Mali? One of them is looking to go into it in partnership with France and the French government. But I think it's the risk that is involved and the licensing that is involved in nuclear energy. I think those are one of the drawbacks. I'll give a typical example. In the oil and gas industry, the setting of the oil and gas industry activities involve using isotopes and nuclear-related activities and equipment. And to get those equipments to use them, there's a lot of regulatory requirements for you, a lot of license issues, a lot of safeguard that you have to put in place to get those things. When we are doing radioactive work in drilling and all of when particles are picked, core particles that are unstable, because radioactive materials are unstable, used for nuclear power generation, and their failure of their systems can be very catastrophic. There have been case studies in US where contamination of water from nuclear industry strayed into certain water bodies, and over years, 10 years, it began to mutate the people that they were having. So the controls around that industry, while it's a low-hanging fruit for power generation, the impact and the controls that you require for nuclear industry is very, very high. And in Africa, because more or less the kind of controls that we need and the expertise is not easy to fetch. So that is why we've not really paid much attention to it. But I think some countries are going out of their ways to see how they can do that. I don't see that happening in Nigeria very soon, because again, we have access to gas, we have access to crude, we have access to many other ones, again, of which we might not want that exposure. So that would be my 2 cents. But again, to mention many other African countries that don't have access to oil and gas and most of these renewable sources, those are the countries that are more or less paying attention to using this very, very unstable energy source for their own utilization. That would be my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Okeogene. I would like to still throw this question out to maybe any of our other mentors that still have maybe a perspective they would like to add to this before we move to the next question.
Hello. Sorry,
Yes,
can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay. In addition to what Mr. Okeogene had said, I mean, he has mentioned the most important thing, which is the risk involved. I mean, we still have case studies of Fukushima, the Chernobyls of this world, where till today, I think it will take between, the last time I checked, I think 20 years to, is it 20,000 years for that place to be inhabited? Just shows you the danger, that could occur when something goes wrong with nuclear. I also think another issue is its cost. Compared to other renewable energy sources, you would see that nuclear really costs more. Check through a recent study, it shows that to produce power, what's the technical term? Megawatt per hour, MWH. So for wind, it will take you about $36 to $44 for solar. For wind, it will take you $29 to $56 to generate a megawatt of power per hour. But compare that to nuclear, it will take you about 112 quid, so about $119. So you see, nuclear takes 2 times, if not 3 times more of investment than other energy. So I think the cost as well is also a concern. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate that contribution. I'm sure our mentees are also learning and seeing the reason why the government or our governments are less invested in some other alternative, and it seems we are just sticking to what we've always known. And I'm sure with time and as generation pass by, when we have more, as we develop in more expertise, there may be, how I put it, we may have the alternatives to actually look into some of those sectors. So our third question here is, how can Nigeria as a country improve power supply and also adopt more modern means of power generation? I would like to leave this question open to our mentors to jump on, but I'll first like to have Mr. Boho say something about it, and then maybe other contributions from our other mentors.
Okay, thanks very much. I think number one, encouraging private sector participation. Thank God the Electricity Act seems to encourage that more. I think the more we have private sector participation, for instance, the provision of the act that encourages the commission to issue concession licenses to private investors who would like to invest in renewable energy, especially solar, for mini grid. So that would encourage improve power supply. Yeah, because when you have more private investors, definitely they will come in with innovation and all of that, more efficiency. And that also links into, of course, the normal conversation about integrating renewable energy sources. This would be driven more by private investors. Also encouraging, providing incentives, not just, providing policies, but incentives to allow for more investment in that sector. Then develop more infrastructure. Let's say, look at the transmission infrastructure. We have generation capacity of about plus or minus hovering around 14,000 megawatts. But you see the transmission infrastructure is quite not up to that. I think it only allows for about half of that. So there's need for governments to, invest in infrastructure. As far as allowing private sector participation, the government should also, because there are levels to this infrastructure thing that will also need the government's involvement, like transmission lines. then adoption of smart grid technologies, which mentees have already stated, we've also discussed here. So yes, these are my thoughts with regards to how power can be developed in the country. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ogbo, for helping us with that. Do our mentors still want to jump on that question, or I think I have a question that I would like to ask, but then if our mentors don't have any comments, I think I will just go ahead and ask my question. So I think recently.
Sorry, let me just say something about that, if you can hear me.
Yes, sir, we can hear you. You can go ahead, sir.
So, Mr. Ogbo, thank you for your comments. I think they are very important. But for me, my own suggestion or what I want to add is probably we need to change the model we're using for our power generation, right? Power generation shouldn't be as central as it has been, or the model we've used in the past. With the new Energy Act that we have, Power Generation Act, where we have been promoting the private sector for coming in, I believe there needs to be a roadmap generally for Nigeria to generate power and to have sufficient power that we need, and that roadmap should have one that is localized, where you have maybe state governments or breaking down power generation or transmission to the state level, where it will be managed from the state level, and then at the state level you have mini localized transmission stations where we can now bring in the smart grid we're talking about, where smaller companies are able to manage power generation and transmission and utilization at the local level, and then is now being culminated at the national level, and then we're able to manage it from that front. Rather than going from the master to the slave, let's go from slave to the master. I don't know if you understand. So I think that model is what will work for us. I say that because of in the Western world, we've seen that when you pass little streets, you see smart stations where you have control rooms where people are monitoring what's happening. They have hands on what's happening, how utilizations are changing. And then if there's any demand for more energy, there's a request from the local station to the national to subvent power from areas when they're being generated excessively, or they go into their storages, release more energy for temporary, or if it's from a long time that is being required, and they manage power at that point. Then if they're not able to carry, they're able to reach out to the customers to say, okay, drop down on your consumption for this time while we require more support. So bottom line of what I'm saying, we need to change our model and of our power transmission or power generation, either rather from national to local. We'll go from local to national. I think that would provide some solution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
If you permit me to jump in there.
Yes, sir, please say something, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Kilgane, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I totally agree with you, the need for a change. I also think with the Electricity Act, the Electricity Act has introduced a decentralized form, which you just stated now, which allows states. And so now there's a provision for state electricity markets. They can as well even have their own regulatory authority that can regulate. So I think going forward, perhaps let's be positive that the Electricity Act will bring about this decentralized form, and it will be impactful. The implementation will be done as expected. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
What was the question?
So the question was, how can Nigeria as a country improve its power supply and also adopt more modern means of power generation?
Okay. Improve power supply. First of all, you need to identify the challenges. What are the challenges of Nigerian power sector industry, the electricity industry, the NESI? There are several, but most of them can be lumped up into finance, because so the challenges, just for the sake of the mentees who might not know, most of the challenges around liquidity constraints, the critical supply infrastructure, metering issues, non-cost reflective tariffs and tariff shortfalls. We also have huge market shortfalls. That is to say, the gap between what is billed by NBT to the discos and what the discos eventually remit are huge, right? There's a shortfall, and MDAs are owing. If you're in Abuja, you must have seen that Abuja Disco published a list of about, I think about 12 billion that the MDAs were owing, including the presidency, right? So these are some of the challenges: electricity theft, ETC&C losses. ETC&C is aggregate technical, commercial, and collection losses. Interference in transmission. We also have, as this group 2 mentioned, inadequate and obsolete distribution infrastructure, transmission constraints, regulatory governance, regulatory issues. So there are a lot of issues, right? And how to improve the power sector and improve supply. Some of these issues have to be looked at and dealt with on a case-by-case basis. I've worked in a disco. It's easy to be outside and just talk about, yeah, there's no lie, they should do this, they should do that. During my time at NBET, I used to bill the discos on a monthly basis. I prepared the invoices, billed them, and they paid 30%. It was very easy to sit in NBET in the office and just begin to castigate the disco. So you're just paying just 30%. And these guys were explaining the challenges that they were going through. But I did not understand until I found myself in a disco, and that's when I understood what it means, right? So it's just easy to just sit down in a bubble and talk about you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this. So in Abuja, it's even across the country, right? Right now, power supply has been down, and the minister summoned the MDs of Abuja Disco, Disco and Ibadan Disco. They have not been getting enough allocation. And the little allocation that comes, just imagine, let me give an example for Abuja Disco. As example now, let's just assume that Abuja Disco's allocation is 600 megawatts and they get only 300 megawatts. Those 300 megawatts, what do they have to do? You have to allocate it. And it is not sentiment that it's not sentiment that rules this allocation, it's economics, because they have to collect money. I'm not going to, I mean, when I understood that the discos have to allocate to people that are going to pay, right? So there are a lot of issues. It's not just about states. Many of the states don't even know what they're doing. Trust me, they don't even know. There's no capacity. The former company I worked, it's easy to just say, I mean, some of these states are just jumping on, you want to do a state electricity market. They don't even know what it takes. They don't even understand the Electricity Act. There's no capacity for it. I mean, people are in the country that even understand regulatory issues, that even understand the Electricity Act itself. So what I'm just saying is that there's no one-size-fits-all solution to improving electricity supply. I heard someone talk about money. Money is very, 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 very important. But apart from money being important, there are other things, because the sector has consumed a lot of money. So sometimes when I hear money, it doesn't sit very well with me, because power sector is one of the sectors that is heavily funded. But what happens to these monies? CBN loan is there, NEMS loan is there. This same power sector, the World Bank has given just recently $750 million. I mean, so what are we doing? There is money, but where is this money? I'm not seeing it. So I don't know. Pardon my rant this morning. I'm just vexed because we've been talking about these issues every time. Up NEPA. I have two boys. Everything they know, they also know up NEPA, and I grew up shouting up NEPA. The first day I heard my son shout out up NEPA, I was so disappointed in myself also, because I'm a power sector person and my son is shouting up NEPA and down NEPA. It's I don't know, man. But apologies for my rant this morning. But some years ago I just said the Nigerian power sector. Sorry for being pessimistic, but I don't think there's any hope. Sorry, and surprisingly, like 1 week after I said it, Batinaji, former Minister of Power, also made the same statement, and I saw it on the newspapers. I don't know. the problems are just too much and multifaceted, from the regulatory agencies down to the policy, the ministry, down to me and you. Some people are on this call, possibly they're even bypassing. So even the biggest bypassers are even the big men, senators in my Tama. Many of them bypass. Imagine the president is owing NEPA bill, for God's sake. I rest my case.
So Lex, I hear you. I hear you, and sorry for jumping in, but again, I just want to add my voice to what he has said. An industry person, I think I totally understand. I've seen that play around in my own industry as well, sometimes mainly, and I feel that way. And again, it still boils down to what I mentioned earlier. There needs to be a case study of where this thing has worked. Permit me to be religious or scriptural here. There's something David Oyedepo always says, that if you win the prize, you will be given the prize, irrespective of your color, whoever you are. If you are black or white and you run an international scene and it's 100 meters race and you win the prize, they will give it to you. So what are we saying? All these discourse and all these people coming up, build these energy systems that work in one particular place and show it works. All these problems we're talking about, we know them. But again, problems are the platform from which solutions come. I agree with you. You are very, very right in what you have said. If it has worked in Winners Chapel, as we have said, and they have done something here, let's just take that model and break the entire countries to 5 million Winners Chapel and do it that way. Where we get it wrong is that we want to use the solution that works in England, the one that works in Germany. We want to use it in Nigeria. It will not work that way. We have to create our own solutions. And these are one of the things I say in industry. I find myself, we must create our own localized solutions that fit to our own use. And then we can have a model that we can work with. I'll just add that to what you have said, and well done.
Yes, again, truly right. And okay, I'd rather we have a discussion outside this, because I can respond to what you just said. It's easy to just do a small Winners Chapel. I mean, Winners Chapel is very, very infinitesimal compared to even the smallest disco let's even use Yola Disco. Winners Chapel is not going through the problems that Yola Disco is going through. You understand? There are some things I cannot just say on this call that we know about the sector. Do you get? So this is a public forum, so it cannot be mentioned. That is the reason for my pessimism about the sector. That is the reason for my pessimism. You understand? So there are just some things, as I said, I can't just mention. But we cannot see. Winners Chapel, where is it located? I want to guess it's in Lagos. They have gas. You understand? The North, does the North have gas? These are the fundamental things. From the very, very big. And Winners Chapel can pay. They can pay for this energy. A village in Sokoto, can they pay for this energy? You are talking pure private financing. Pure private financing. You understand? So Winners Chapel can pay, and I'm very, very sure it's possible they are even the owners of the power plant. The money. Let's leave sentiments from this thing. The money is the most important thing in this business. You're coming with an embedded generation solution. The off-taker is the off-taker going to pay, yes or no? This is not social. This is not a social business. It's not. We are not even talking mini grids. We are talking of grants. We are talking pure dollar-dominated financing. Is it with the way the exchange rate is even dancing today and tomorrow is going up, and the risks are there. The government is not even willing to give what do you call it, true up or their liquidated damages. So it's easy to just say Winners Chapel. Yes, it's happening in Winners Chapel. Winners Chapel can pay, but there are communities even in your village or your state. Do you know that there are many communities in Ondo State that have never seen electricity in the past 20 years? It does not mean, I did a study there. I asked them, how much are you willing to pay for 24 hours power supply? Guess how much he said? Some people said 2,000 naira per month. And you want to carry a Winners Chapel solution there? It's not possible. It can't work. It can't work. Okay, then let's talk after this discussion, and let's allow the mentees to go before they will just begin to let's just discuss.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. But again, mentors see that we have real problems. Sorry, mentees see that we have real problems beyond what we're talking. We're just identifying solutions here, which we will take beyond here. There are real solutions that need answers, and we're depending on you as you come on. JIIPC has given you the platform to hear the real problems for the people trying to solve the problem for the past 30 years. We are happy to pass those buttons to you, give you the little solutions we have so that you can take it to the next level. We are counting on you. Okay?
Really, if I were to just add a little, interesting conversation there. I just wanted to say, cross-socialization of the costs would help in this situation, in the sense that where you have the rich guys, you could charge them a little bit more just to compensate for providing the same service to those in the rural communities, for instance. So that could help. That's also a way, but we don't want to elaborate so much and elongate this conversation. We'll continue some other time. Oh, okay.
Thank you very much to our mentors for their wonderful contributions. I'm sure our mentees have picked up 18 or two on both solutions and the problems, right? We look at problems and then we profile solutions. This is what our internship and our mentorship session is supposed to, or is trying to deal with or address. So we say thank you to our mentors that have been able to join in on this call. Thank you for sharing your perspective, for also creating an awareness in our hearts concerning what needs to be done and what needs to be put in place. I say thank you to the mentees for also sparing your time, irrespective of the network issues that seem to be plaguing the whole nation. Right, we've been able to make it through to this 2-hour session. So thank you once again. Well done. We look forward to seeing you guys in the next session. We say thank you to our mentors, and we wish everyone a wonderful weekend ahead. Good day, everyone.
All right.